I want to take a minute really quick here to talk about military spouses, because that is a very important, very underserved part of our community. So you take the example of Sergeant Snuffy. He PCSs 7, 8, 9 times over the course of a 20-year career. He might be deployed a few times, maybe more than a few times, and the spouse stays behind and is taking care of the kids, holding down the house, working at a job that may only last a couple of years while they're in that geographic area tied to that base. And so what you tend to see with military spouses is underemployment, especially when everybody goes to the civilian world. What I've learned through my experience is to look at that as a strength. These are people, these military spouses are very, very resourceful. They know how to get jobs done. They know how to do it on their own. We as a community have a tendency to use the we word, the team word, a whole lot, right, guys? But spouses a lot of times don't have that luxury. Sure, there's folks they know through base, but they just moved into a community in a lot of cases, and they have to use the I word. I have to get the kids to school. I have to figure out the family budget. I have to figure out, 3 or 4 different schedules with soccer and basketball and how to get everybody.
I have to figure out how to maneuver through this big governmental system to get what I need for my family and me. I have to be a leader and help build support groups for the other spouses and families. And this is, I have to build a website so everybody knows and can communicate to each other about what's going on, from rear command. So there's so many. Randy, you're hitting on something that's so important. And if you look at it from a skills and experience perspective versus a job or job description perspective, there's all kinds of things, the agility, the flexibility, the curiosity, being able to take a bunch of information and condense it quickly to get to what you need to do. Those are all things that are life skills that actually tie directly over into the job. And just because you haven't necessarily demonstrated something like that in a job per se, you have, because it's just a job that, it's the hardest job, right?
Yeah. If a candidate is a military spouse, that is something I look for on their resume, and I generally see as very positive, because I know how talented those people can be, how hard they have to work, how good they are at problem solving. And so I guess the point when it comes back to resumes is take a look at the job that you're applying for. If you're a military spouse, figure out the buzzwords, the things that need to happen every day in that job description, and then draw a parallel to all the amazing things you did, while you were kind of going through the rigmarole of active duty. I think there's a direct line you can draw in a lot of circumstances. And if you're a well-trained hiring manager, you can see that. So I welcome military spouses. I think they're a great part of our community, and frankly, they need some help from us.
Yeah, let's assume that one of the military spouses who was very active in support groups and didn't necessarily have a job. Would you recommend to them that they put community support representative or rear echelon advocate or something like that, and then tie into because planning events for when folks come home, there's a lot of work associated with it, and there's a lot of skills in that, right? And so just because you might not get a W-2 doesn't mean that you aren't doing things that matter and could be used as an explanation of some of the things of value that you could bring to that company.
Totally agree. I don't think just because you're not receiving a W-2 or a W-9 or whatever it may be that there are 1099 that you need to kind of, put aside that experience. I think it's really important to highlight what you do on a daily basis and how that helps the company move forward. There's just so many things that companies are doing that can take from military spouse experiences and make themselves stronger. Probably one of the most important, in my opinion, is learning to deal with new situations and new people. When you're a military spouse, you're sort of at the whims of your spouse's career and where the military takes you, and you're PCSing all over the world in a lot of cases, and you meet all sorts of different people, and you have to problem solve. you've got to figure out how to integrate yourself into that community and take care of the needs of the family in a lot of cases, and make ends meet. And so that integration piece is something that I look for. That experience in new situations with new people and succeeding is super valuable and very fundamental for a company. So I look very favorably on those experiences.
What I just heard in there, strategic plan and planning, especially if the service member is deployed when these PCSs happen.
Oh yeah.
Strategic planning, change management, business plan, like there's event planning, negotiation with moving companies, so there, and that's, the great thing about this new skills-based economy as it continues to get more robust and evolve, is that you are going to start getting credit for those things. Now, we've been talking about resumes, and I look at, again, holistically, a resume is, you got this resume, it could be 15 pages long for all I care. It has a bullet of everything that you've ever done, every skill that you have competency in, what level of competency that is, objective and everything else. And you're going to take that and you're going to nurture it and you're going to manage it. And then you're going to have all these little baby resumes that kind of pop out of that. Again, same thing, the LinkedIn is basically a baby resume of sorts. And we're going to go deep into LinkedIn and some other things in future episodes on how to make sure you maximize that. But this concept of a resume is one that anybody who's managing a career should have. And it's just part of, you should be teaching your kids while they're in high school. My high school kids have all had resumes, and we, once every 6 months, we sit down, we talk about things that they've done in school or sports or leadership or whatever, and start building that and tying that in, just so they can start thinking about how they're presenting their value. But there's tools now that are helpful that we didn't have when we were transitioning. I'm going to highly recommend purepost.co. And with purepost.co, it'll help you build your resume. It will use AI to do it, but it also will take military terms and convert them into civilian resume terms. And they have actually several products for the employers, products for the candidates, etc. There are job interview AI tools. There are anything that you can imagine in terms of, man, I just wish that there was an AI tool for this or an AI bot for that. Now, AI, it's still early, and there's good AI and there's bad AI. You'll be able to figure that out. It still takes human common sense, decision making on, if I have 2 seconds for this recruiter to see my resume, what am I going to put in this one specific occasion for this one job inside of this one company? If I have somebody who referred me to speak to a recruiter or a hiring manager, what is my elevator pitch based off of my resume? Where do I add value? Speaking in their terms, what do I want them to know about me? You got 3 seconds, go. Again, we're going to be talking about this and more in future episodes. But the importance of the resume is it forces you to think. It's like writing your own obituary, or it's like writing. It's like
hopefully not.
Yes, no, not anytime soon. But it's things that cause you to reflect. Writing an advertisement. If you were to write an advertisement that you were going to put in a newspaper on why somebody should hire you, what does that look like, right?
Right.
And so these are things that are going to help as foundational pillars for all the things that we're going to be talking about in many, many episodes to come.